Do you think that might have something to do with your ADHD impulsivity?
Yes, a lot. If I had a problem about it, I should have talked to them personally first before I addressed it.
Because I've said some things and acted some ways and then like, oh my gosh, because I didn't think about what, and it's like, you know, you don't think about the consequences, you know, you just.
My mother in high school telling me if I ever said that again in front of me, I would be, you know, because I felt that I was entitled to say, I mean, the topic was, I think it was before the Supreme Court, that it was an issue if you can't force sterilization upon, intellectually impaired people. And, you know, it was done.
Oh yeah.
In the 50s, you know, and this was in the 60s, and it was a case. The dinner table conversation was this issue. And I'm a junior in high school taking a firm stance that is not anybody's, you know, and there are other means of contraception. And my mother told me, you know, so it's always been.
When I think about that though, you know, that probably, you keep that with you your whole life. And then sometimes when it's okay to voice your opinion, you don't, because it's like you're not supposed to. And so like that's the lesson you learn from that, is to stay quiet. But you can't sometimes, like, right? You know, so then you beat yourself up because you think, I'm supposed to be quiet. I'm not supposed to voice my opinion, but I can't stop myself.
I don't think I ever really learned it until like, I'll hear more. You know, I mean, I still did it at Eastern High School until I alienated myself because I was very outspoken about what I thought were principles and morals.
But you were also an activist in the 70s. So, I mean, that's part of your persona, really. I just know that I've said some things like, oh, I wish I could go back, or done some things. Like, I'll tell you a story I did. I lost my temper. And, of course, went straight into impulsivity mode. I had a blind student who had just started with us. So I had a parapro lined up to work with him one-on-one. And so the parapro who I had assigned to him came into the office, and she met him, and then he went to take her elbow. She pulls her arm away. And she's like, you can't touch me. And I'm like, well, but that's how you lead him. She goes, well, he's not going to touch me. He goes, I won't hurt you. I promise I won't hurt you. And she's like, I'm not working with him. I'm not working with him. Refused to work with him. Well, I had a parapro substitute who was sitting here waiting for me to give him an assignment. And he said, I will. I'll do it. Right? Had him take the kid and go. I lost my shit on that woman. And I yelled at her in the main office in front of everybody. And then, worse yet, I stormed out of the office and I slammed not one, not two, but 3 doors.
She affronted you personally. I mean,
and that child. You know, he did not deserve any of that. And that's why I was mad. I was so angry. So angry. So yeah, I did get called into the principal's office and I had to have a conversation. And basically she's like, you know why you're here? And I'm like, yeah, I know why I'm here.
Gosh, mine, exactly.
But the fact of the matter is I didn't know I had ADHD at that time.
Yeah.
And I often look back at those kinds of occurrences and think, if I'd have been on medication, would I have
responded the way I did?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Because, I mean, my time, I mean, I can, and she radioed into the counseling office and said she wanted all the counselors to go here, station to station, you know, she told us where, because there was a big fight up on the second floor during lunch. And the stream of girls keeps coming down. The second, I can go back up. Nobody's coming down. Go back. I'm going to start taking pictures. Go back up. Go back up. Right. And finally, I get up to the second floor landing, and there is a public safety officer. She's like, what the hell are you doing? You know, and I'm like, she didn't say what. She's like, what are you doing? You know, and I'm like, they can't come down. They can't come. I released them. And I'm like, well, nobody told me you released them. So go ahead, girls. But nobody told me, I just made a scene in front of everybody. And then I'm going down the second floor with those high heels, making sure everybody heard me. Public safety filed a report on me. Yeah, and so it was the same thing. You know why you're here. Yeah, I know why I'm here. But it was a shocker, kind of like, well, I was out of control, going that, but it just pissed me off.
Right, and that's part of that whole emotional regulation thing. Because, it's not just impulsivity, it's also emotional regulation. Like, we feel anger fast and furious.
I go to red real fast.
I go to red real fast, too. I go to red real fast, but then I back off of it pretty quickly. But when I was younger, I did a lot more, get mad more.
Yeah, I think, and I hope that, I realize, that I can catch it before I get to, red, because it is controllable. It is, Sure.
But in sometimes, in those incidents, both of us, we were out of control.
I was. And I knew it. My heart rate was all the physical symptoms of fight or flight. Okay, let's deck this up. I should have known to just stay out of it because it was volatile within me already. I set time limits now on tasks.
Yeah, and I find that helps me a lot too. But with that, what we were talking about with my daughter is just the whole thing with, I have to do the hardest thing first. When did we get that beaten into our head that I have to do the hardest thing first?
I'm trying to think, because that is interesting. Because why would you set yourself up for failure with that?
Right.
And I use that word because I had never thought either of looking at my personal goals in that term. But my son said that to me when I said I was going to start swimming again. And he's like, okay, so what time are you going to go? And don't tell me you're going to go at 6 or 7, when you were working, because you don't get up till 9. Oh, okay, yeah. And how many days a week, because my natural inclination is to expect most.
All or nothing, right?
All or nothing.
I'm going to swim every single day because if I'm going to swim, I'm going to swim, right?
If I'm going to do something,
I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it the best I can. Yeah. And I look at how much.
And I always set myself up then for either paralysis. I can't move literally because I'm afraid that I will never achieve perfection. So it's better not to even move, or constant disappointment in myself because then again, I wasn't able to finish that task, I said I was, or how I was. Yeah, and how much that fits into that perception of ourselves and limits, just living in the time that's present. That's part of it too.
Well, we're very here and now people. But, people with ADHD, live in the moment, but that doesn't mean that they're mindful of the moment that they're living in.
Yeah, because I would say I don't live in the moment. I have to learn how to live in the moment.
Right, but what I mean is you don't really think ahead a lot.
No, we ruminate mainly.
Yeah. If you're doing anything, you're going to ruminate and think about what you're thinking about all of the yesterday and the day before.
Right.
Rumination.
The future, not so much, maybe in a plan to do something, but even that can then become a process, just the conversation we were having with your daughter of I can't grasp there's so many things to do in the future. I can't, I'm afraid to take the first step even kind of thing that.
Yeah. And then to say, go ahead and do the one you want to do first is just contrary to.
Oh, you're being frivolous.
You're being frivolous. Exactly.
You're done. You do the hard first.
Right.
Because that's a necessity maybe, or it's the way.
But if you allot yourself the same amount of time to get the same number of chores done, right? What difference does it make? Why is getting the hardest one done first so important as long as you get them all done? So why wouldn't you do the easier one first to get yourself
feeling
rewarded, feeling motivated? Because success breeds motivation, right?
And I think that's really onto something. I'm thinking of that because it's also just the backwards way we think about in education. I think, we don't build upon people's strengths. We keep them trying to increase their weaknesses. And really, why? I mean, we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and yes, we have to have a basic proficiency to be able to talk and write and speak. But if my grammar or writing isn't really my forte, but I'm absolute wizard in math, why do I have to keep taking more English classes?
Right.
You know? And so that kind of, you have no inner ability to make plans really for yourself when you have ADHD. I mean, my mind's always scattered, I would say. Well, it really would help to have known you work on these, but it is so backwards to think I do the hardest first. But that's how you do the hardest part first.
There's the whole concept of eat the frog. Like if you know that you have to eat a frog every day, would you eat the frog first or last? And there's like a whole book about eating the frog first. And my friend Cheryl and I were talking, and we were talking about eat the frog, and she said, "There's no way." She's like, "I did frogs, but I ate a toe, and I ate a toe, and I ate a toe." Because you can't eat the whole frog at one time. It's the concept of, taking all that stuff that you have to do, or that bad task, and doing that bad task or that unfavorable task first. Eating the frog is a metaphor for doing the worst task first. And when Cheryl and I were talking about it, we were talking about how she said, I could never eat the frog all at once. I would have to break the frog into bits.
Oh, which is even looking at it in a totally different way.
Right.
Would she do that first or just all day long? She would eat it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, now I'm understanding. Like I would take parts of the most difficult task and do little bits of it that I could at a time. And some can be that way.
Yeah, so I just thought it was really interesting, but that whole concept of
but a lot of people don't think of it that far even.
No. Well, and that's why, I know Savannah my daughter was reluctant to write the list out because she doesn't feel like she had the energy. Just like you had said, you didn't feel like you had the energy to write out a list, right? I try to write the list out the night before. And
interesting, because that's looking towards the future. Even if it's just the next day, it's looking towards the future instead.
And it's something we don't often do.
No, because, again, we say a prayer at night. That's how I was raised. You say a prayer at night before you go to sleep. I don't say a prayer anymore. But what I feel like I should be doing, what people talk about embracing life, is saying gratitude. Being in gratitude for what I had today, and go to sleep with gratitude.
What if you woke up tomorrow with only the things that you were grateful for today? That's a very
powerful statement. Because we spend so much time being ungrateful for the very, it gives me chills even, Jenny, because anger does so many bad things. And that's like what I think about, like, going to bed angry about things, instead of going to bed grateful about it. And it sounds Pollyanna sometimes, but you need to plan your future too.
Sure. I think it's important for us to build in reflection through gratitude so that we don't forget our past and forget the good things. And I think we also need to do things that help us at least bring some organization to our life. Otherwise, if we live in the now, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I'm going to say I need to clean the house, or I need to do all these things and I can't do them. And I'm so overwhelmed because I have to do them right now. And if I don't have to do them right now because I'm filling out my list the night before, I get up in the morning and I have my list. I know what I'm going to do.
And it shouldn't be such a shock that I should, because you have to have a plan.
You do?
Yeah.